Alexa, dismiss.
I was holding that one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Paul's Cinema Picks of the Week. My name is Paul Westbrook, Bradford's film enthusiast, that says on my t-shirt. And yes, that we just had a minute of silence to remember Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth I, who passed... Second, Queen Elizabeth II, who recently passed away on Thursday. I think it was 2 weeks ago now?
The 8th.
On the 8th of September, 2022. And today's theme in her memory is we're going to be talking a little bit about films of royalty. Royalty in cinema, that's what I like to call it. And the films that I brought today to discuss have to do with royal figures and royalty. And well, you've already heard me ramble enough about it, so let's get to the films. First film I have here is a Cate Blanchett film called Elizabeth. And this is about Queen Elizabeth's predecessor, like way back, like 1554. And it's about Queen Elizabeth I. She was the daughter of King Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. And she was one of England's most prominent queens at the time. And this one here had a follow-up called Elizabeth the Golden Age, but I figure we're just discussing Elizabeth in particular, so I figure I'd just bring this one here, which was an Academy Award winner, nominated for Best Picture, and it had 7 Academy Award nominations, as a matter of fact. And this one here had an all-star cast. You had Cate Blanchett, a very accomplished actress. You had Geoffrey Rush, Christopher Eggleston, Joseph Fiennes, Sir John Gielgud, and Sir Richard Attenborough in very prominent roles. And of course, this is like the young Elizabeth when she first started, and it goes from like her upbringing all the way to when she just starts becoming Queen Elizabeth, because they continue it in part 2. The story continues more into the pinnacle of her reign. But this one here is like the early years when she first was ascending towards the throne of being queen. In fact, she was actually she was put in the Tower at a very early age by her cousin, believe it or not. Before she actually became queen, yes, she was a prisoner of the Tower of London herself. Myself have been to the Tower of London, not as a prisoner, but more as a tourist. But going to these royal places really helped shape my interest in royalty and what might have gone on there during the time of King Henry and even before that, because according to fact is that the tower was originally built with William the Conqueror, and it goes into the time of the Tudors all the way to the modern age of today, where it's now a very popular tourist attraction. But yeah, anyway, in this one, yes, it takes place in the year 1554, and it deals with what goes on during the time when Elizabeth was first coming into prominence, and her eventual ascension to the throne as Queen Elizabeth as we know today. Second movie here takes place in Tudor times. It's based on a novel. It's called The Other Boleyn Girl, and it has Natalie Portman, Scarlett Johansson, and Eric Bana as a very young King Henry VIII. So he's not the heavy-set king with the beard and that of later years. Here he's a very young monarch. And the stories, like some say the story happened, it's speculative, I think. I don't think the story really happened. It was based on a novel that just happens to take place in the time of King Henry, but it's supposed to be like Henry is in love with Anne Boleyn. Well, he gets with her, but then Scarlett Johansson plays Mary Boleyn, who is the sister of Anne, and somehow the king is infatuated towards her, and how he loses interest in Anne. You know, she's going to be eventually beheaded by King Henry VIII. And it's quite a story. It's really good if you like the period pieces, which is period films of costumes and all the fancy stuff like kings and royalty and royal decorum in the court. And on this DVD, you have some special features here. You have Translating History to the Screen, which is a featurette on bringing the actual historical story and best-selling novel to life. To Be a Lady, featurette on the life of a lady in court etiquette in 16th century England, which was very rigid for the time that it was in, and you had to follow a set of royal decorum and rules. But that's what made it important and brought you to prominence, and the social climbing that happened also in the 16th century English court. Then you have Members of the Court biographies, so you go in depth and explore the real lives of Anne Boleyn, King Henry VIII, among others. So you get to find out a little more about King Henry VIII and what he was like in his younger years. A story I want to tell is also, when I was in England and I visited the Tower of London, they actually had an English claymore that Henry had actually had kept in there for all these centuries and years, and they kept it among the crown jewels and everything, and they brought out the claymore that Henry had, and it took about 3 of us to hold it. Yeah, I'm actually one of the people that have actually held this sword, and it took 3 people to hold it, so it tells you how strong Henry was in his younger years. And then later, when he moved to Hampton Court, Henry developed gout, which is why he couldn't walk the same. He was always in pain, and that's what gave him his overbloated appearance of later years, because of the gout and the sicknesses he had and the pain he was in. But he is actually my favorite king for some reason. Not because of the brutal nature, but because I just found him a very interesting historical figure. And Anne Boleyn. If you want to look about Anne Boleyn, you could either get this movie here, and there's another one. There's another movie about Anne Boleyn. I don't really remember the title of it, though. That's the only problem. But yeah, I'll have to look into it and then get back to you on that. But yes, the other Boleyn girl is a recommended view, so take a look at it and see what you think for yourself, too. Here, we have an Academy Award winner, Emily Blunt, in The Young Victoria, which is about the life of Queen Victoria and how she starts having a love affair with Albert, who became her husband. And yes, it stars Emily Blunt in it, and Rupert Friend, or I think I'm pronouncing that right, Rupert Friend. He was the star of the movie Pride and Prejudice, and it's about their blossoming love affair, how they come together, their courtship, and seeing that how much that he was really devoted to her, because when she died, when Prince Albert died, he died first, and Queen Victoria, Queen Victoria actually wore black, a mourning dress for the rest of her reign until the day she died, because she had loved Albert so very much. And this is one of the really good films. I've seen it at least twice, and really enjoyed it. And the DVD here, you got some very good special features. You have deleted scenes. You have a little bit on the real Queen Victoria, behind-the-scenes features, making of the young Victoria. You get the coronation, the wedding, the lavish history, and one of my favorites, the costumes and locations, where you get to see the many costumes that they wore, the locations where the film was shot, and it's one of the greatest films on royalty that I'd seen, and I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend this film here. Finally, we come to the Academy Award winner for Best Picture, the Best Picture 2010 A Masterpiece. Colin Firth, Geoffrey Rush in The King's Speech. Yes, this is about King George VI. And I believe he was the father. Right, Dave?
Yes, he was.
The father of Queen Elizabeth II, who had just passed away. And it's about how he is suddenly appointed as the new king, and he has problems speaking because he stutters. So they hire Lionel Loeb, who is a speech therapist. I believe he comes in and he helps King George find his voice, more or less, find out how to enunciate, how to speak in public engagements, because King George VI, I don't believe, ever had spoken before in these speeches. So he needed the help. And the chemistry between the two leads is really good, and it's one of the, as they say, crowning achievements of cinema. It's a really best picture. I first saw it, I first got it around 2010 or so when it came out on DVD, and unfortunately I had a cold at the time, so it was very hard to be able to really appreciate it, but I do want to see it again very soon because it's one of the great movies about the king. And you have feature commentary with director Tom Hooper, The King's Speech, an inspirational story of an unlikely friendship, because Logue and the king actually did become friends, yes. A Q&A with the director and cast. Q&As are always interesting because you get to find out a lot of interesting factoids. And finally, speeches from the real King George. So you get some speeches on here from the actual king himself. And then Helena Bonham Carter, I didn't know who she played, but apparently she was the very young Queen Mother. She was the Queen Mother. And, well, at that time she was King George VI's wife. And if you get Helena Carter in most movies, you find that she really carries the role, and she certainly carries the role in this movie here. It's one you should, anybody that likes a good film should see this one. It's fantastically done. So,
before we finish, were there any movies about Queen Elizabeth II that you don't have?
Yeah, I don't have the one, The Queen, with
have you seen it?
With Helen Mirren. I might have seen it one time. So it talks about the Queen when she, like during the time of, especially the time of Diana's death, and tells how she deals with that. And Helen Mirren is one of the greatest actresses out there today, and she really plays the Queen really well. Yeah, I don't have that one, so I can't really say too much on it, but my sister thought I could mention that, because, yeah, that's...
Just in case our viewers want to know if there's any movies specifically for the Queen.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and it's one of the...
I think there's a documentary out there, too.
Yeah, there's a documentary on the Queen, too. They even did a 3D one that they did on the Queen herself, and if you can find that one out there, that's a good one to get. Yeah, I remember the one Genevieve Bujold. She starred in a movie about Anne Boleyn. Anne of a Thousand Days. That's the name of it. Yes, Anne of a Thousand Days. That's about Queen Anne Boleyn, her meeting with King Henry VIII, and then leads up to the eventual execution. There's Lady Jane, which also had Helena Bonham Carter in that one. There's Lady Jane. There's Marie Antoinette with Kirsten Dunst, which was about the French king, Louis, like Louis the 14th, Louis the 15th, I think it was. And around the French court in the Versailles, which was the home there. But yes, those are some of the royal movies that I can think of right now, besides the ones we'd already mentioned, which are certainly worth looking into. You can find them in a thrift store or the mall, because, like I said, we don't have video stores anymore.
Oh, Amazon.
Was this?
Amazon.
Amazon, yes. My sister, believe it or not, you can actually order movies from Amazon. I thought if you don't mind me mentioning that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you can actually order some of these movies off Amazon. And if you can find them, yeah, I would certainly look into finding those and watching them and then forming your own opinion. But for now, this is Paul Westbrook reminding you to like and subscribe to the channel. Reminding you to, as we always say in every show, to leave your comments below the video so we can read them and find out if you liked or didn't like, and or if you just found something interesting, or if you just want to chew the fat, you can do that too. But that's all right. We do that in live shows. But for now, Paul Westbrook, Brantford Film Enthusiast, reminding you that I'll be seeing you at the movies. Bye for now.